Today on the table I have the Maverick 88 Security and a used Remington 870 Field Grade. Both shotguns are chambered in 12 gauge. They both do take 3-inch shells. Let me double check that real quick. Yes, they both do take 3-inch shells. So the question comes, you walk into your gun shop and there's two shotguns sitting on the shelf. The Maverick 88 Home Security and a used, just hunting field grade Remington 870. They will both come in at about the exact same price. So what should you pick? Well, a lot of it comes down to what I'm going to use the shotgun for, which I will address later in the video. But overall, the controls. Now, the 870 has the bolt release up front, which is fine because say you're going to do a shell changeover, say it's loaded up with buckshot, and you're like, okay, I need to make a slug shot. Ideally, you'd pull the firearm down, release the bolt, eject the shell, throw another shell in there, and then go back to work. The Mossberg gets in the back, so like, I don't know, I guess it does have some advantages, like say you have a malfunction or something, you can hit that button. But I really don't see a whole lot of scenarios where that would happen to where you'd have to stay and be able to pump it. But I mean, that is something to consider. But same with the Mossberg, you know, bring your trigger from your back, eject it, lop out that shell, put it in a slug, you're good to go. Side note I forgot to touch on, the safety is in the rear with the 870. So say for example, you're in the heat of the moment. You go, dead trigger. Come back, hit the safety, and then you can fire. The Mossberg, the safety's in the front. So in the heat of the moment, like your home defense scenario, like, holy crap, there's a guy in my house and he's, you know, wants to do harm with me. You pull up, aim at him, pull the trigger, dead trigger. Well, there's no safety in the rear. So then you have to break your hand position, come forward, actuate the safety, come back, and then hit the trigger. Much more lengthy process to do. Also, I don't know if this 870 trigger has ever had work done on it, but that is a beautiful braking trigger. The Maverick 88, it's not horrible, but not near the quality of the 870. The Remington uses a steel receiver, so no matter what, how you configure it, if you were to configure the Maverick 88 in the same way, the Maverick 88 is going to be a lighter shotgun. Not to mention they use polymer parts. The Remington has wood parts, steel receiver, steel trigger guard, always going to be heavier. Maverick 88 also has a plastic trigger guard. So that's something you need to be aware of because this is going to take a little bit more abuse until you get to the point of like hitting the trigger guard. You could snap this off. I mean, just look at the wear on this trigger guard, and it hasn't broke yet. So that says something. Next thing you need to watch out for, or I shouldn't say watch out for, take into consideration is the load gate. So Mossberg has an open concept. There's no load gate there. So it's far more forgiving on loading errors. So you flip it over, you grab your two shells. If you were to go in and you fumbled it, well, that one shell's still there. So even if you lost this one, you could still push that one in, and then you at least have one in there. I find it easier to do double feeds or double loads without the load gate. Just a personal preference. I don't really know if that's that big of a deal or not. But it is something to be aware of. Now say you're gonna do the same thing with the Remington 870. Go down, you screw it up, and there's nothing there. You're left with no shells in your hand. Unless, of course, you manage to hang on to this one. Now, the 870 really isn't that bad for double loads. Like, it is still doable, but I find it just a little bit more difficult. Again, personal preference. Now, a huge advantage that the 870 has over the Maverick 88 is underneath this tube cap, there's just a little retainer that holds your spring. So you can put a magazine extender on here and adjust your ammo capacity to whatever you want. You could even put a plug in here and then lower this down to duck hunting capacity. The Maverick 88, because of how this is designed, this tube is solid on the end. So let's say you bought one that only had a 5-shot capacity If you wanted to change that, not only would you need to change the tube, you would also need to change the barrel, because this is permanently fixed on there. So you're stuck with whatever capacity you buy the shotgun in originally, which can be a problem, especially if you want it for home defense and it's only got 5 shells and now you're like, oh, I want 8, or maybe you decide you want to go hunting with it and your state restricts you to only having so many shells. Yeah, you could run a plug-in here for restriction, so that is always an option, but it's just nicer to have it like this. Now the Maverick 88, this has never been a military shotgun, will never be a military shotgun, and it does have some weak points, because this is a newer manufactured firearm. Like, for example, this Remington 870, it's been around for a long time, so all the deflation you will normally see, like when you buy a firearm and a firearm goes used, has already happened. So what would normally be a much more expensive shotgun is now the same price. And what I was touching on about the military stuff, they use 870s, military, police, stuff like that. So if there's a specific model you want, it would be very easy to convert that to this. Let's say you wanted a National Guard model. I mean, really, the only thing that you could not get, well, you could get, because you couldn't buy the stamps to just put them in yourself. But the only real difference, like after changing out some furniture, would be the lack of stamping on it. But you can buy those stamps and put it in yourself if you really want that accurate of a clone. Now, which one would I purchase? Well, the Maverick 88 does have some advantages. This is cheap. There's nothing special about it. It's not a clone. I just buy this and it's good to go. This is ready for home defense. And it's important to not have a personal attachment to, I guess you'd call it your final fallback position in home defense, because you want to leave that shotgun there. You don't want to touch it. You just want to load it, shoot it a couple of times, make sure it works, leave it at capacity right next to your bed. You build a clone like this, you're going to be more likely to want to play with it, shoot it, stuff like that, and then you can wear parts out, etc. This would, if I were to make a clone out of a military shotgun, I'm going to shoot this thing. Like, it would be special to me. So it wouldn't be left on the side of the bed, and it's very important to leave your firearm on the side of the bed if that's your final fallback position gun. You don't ever want to touch it. You need it to be there, and you need it to be loaded. Both of these use a blue finish. I would never, ever spray paint this firearm. It's just got history in it, stuff like that. Maverick 88, oh yeah, I'd rattle can the crap out of this. And I don't really care. It's a new production firearm. I can just go buy another one that's not rattle canned if I don't want it rattle canned anymore. And it's cheap enough. And if I were to spray paint this, then the rusting issues and that aren't really that big of an issue anymore. Because I would never spray paint this, it would constantly have to be oiled. I'd have to make sure it didn't get affected by humidity too much. There's a certain pride that would go into owning an 870, especially one of these older ones. Now, if I want not a home defense shotgun, or I already have a Maverick 88 on the side of my bed, or something that I'm not going to touch, it's just going to sit there, that's all it's going to do, but I want something else, or I want something to look cool, without a doubt, the 870 is the way to go. And it's, like I said before, a far more robust design. You pay for it in weight, but it looks cooler in the end. So anyway, that's my thoughts on these two shotguns. Leave in the comments below which one you would pick and why. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.